Hi, today we're going to meet Agos Bergia. She used to be my student. We met during the pandemic, and from there on, she has had an incredible journey. Um, we met when she was trying to apply to a scholarship. The time has gone by. She's applied, she's studied, and now she's in South Korea. The conversation with her is fabulous. She gives insights on what it is to live abroad, on her own process, and she's just like a warm, adorable person. I really hope that you enjoy this interview. Thank you for being there and for um, letting me share what I do every day. So thank you. And let's get busy and watch our interview. Thank you.
So, Agos, thank you for agreeing to meet with me. You are like in the other part of the world. We're going to talk about that. So I really appreciate this. Thank you.
No, thank you for inviting me. For me, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And like we've even maintained our friendship now, like after being like teacher and student. So I think this will keep on going
Yes.
besides the interview. But thank you very much for having me here.
Well, I think that you actually do. I mean, first of all, I think you are a very interesting person. I mean, and I think that. Um, but at the same time, I think that your story is so rich, and I think there's so much that perhaps could even inspire other people in all aspects. Not only, of course, I'm focusing on English, but I think that you are an inspiration in many other aspects of life. So that's why I thought that it would be very interesting for my students, my audience, if I could say that. With a lot of kind of humility and say my audience, Anyway, I thought that it would be an inspiration to meet with you and have a little chat. So, Agos, first thing, it's like I would like you to tell us, or yes, to tell the audience how we met, why you actually wanted to meet with me, and in a way, how I helped you reach some of your goals and what happened after that, which is amazing. So please, can you tell us that?
Yeah. I have to start by saying that I always went to a bilingual school back in the days where I was young, but then I did not practice English in my adulting process, let's call it like that. And then I decided I wanted to apply to universities abroad and also to a specific scholarship, which is called the Chivning Scholarship. It's a British scholarship specifically directed to students that want to study in the UK. I wanted to go to Oxford. Didn't have high hopes at that moment, but I knew that I had to perfect my English, both for the interviews for the scholarship, but also for the interviews and the process of writing my essays in English for the universities. Besides the fact that they also ask as a specific requisite that you have like an English exam, and my English exams were like dated like from 2010, so they didn't meet the criterion. And after that, after meeting with you, I we started like our preparation towards the exam, but also towards like everything that englobed like the process of applying that took more than a year. So like for everyone listening, everything takes time, like with languages and with everything. And after a long wait and a bit of desperation in the middle, I got to know that I got accepted to the 3 universities I applied to, and also that I got the scholarship I wanted. So I went to study to Oxford. and I was very well prepared and very well equipped with my English when I got there. And I didn't know that before going. Like, it was one of my worries, but it was like very good to know that persistent practice makes the total difference. So yeah, I think that's our the first part of our story together.
Yeah, that's it, the first part. Yeah, you mentioned persistence practice, and of course, I do believe in that. I think that this is kind of something that happens throughout a period of time, and you never stop learning. That's the point, because I mean, I continue training, I continue learning. And I think that same thing has happened to you while being in Oxford. Probably you learned expressions, and I mean, you felt more comfortable with the language and so on. Now, what is your relationship with English? Maybe what was your relationship with English before, even when we were having classes? And then what did you discover on your own about your relationship with English, or kind of the doors that speaking another language offered you?
I think that I had a very different kind of life experience with when I was young, that I emigrated and I went and lived in Canada, in the French part of Canada. So it doesn't have to be specifically an English speaking country, but the experience of living abroad like opened my mind towards like loving languages. I studied with many people from different countries, because first you go to an immigrant school and then you go to very Canadian school, so they prepare you through that process. But then when I got back to Argentina, I knew that I liked languages. I had like learned French because of that, and I still was learning English. And for me, learning a language is like getting yourself into a new culture, because it's not only about the language, it's about being able to read books in that language, to understand how people live in that culture. Also, like you can learn a lot about a culture just by knowing how they spell things, how they do their grammar, how they, like, that gives you hints about how they think. Actually, like right now I'm in South Korea, and I'm starting to learn Korean, and the way their alphabet works and the way they chose, because it's the only language that we know when it was created and by whom. Like, you really kind of can tell how people thought at that time, and how do they think and prioritize verbs over like actions over like adjectives. So that tells you a lot about culture. And I think that with English it was always the same. I think that is a privilege to be able to read um books in the original language. And when we had a book club that I think that you should restart, I would be there, surely. Uh, we started reading like books about different like eras in different countries. Like, you have American literature, you have like British literature, and you learn a lot by that. And once you move abroad, it helps you integrate into the culture. You know music, you know books, you know like a bit of the life there before going. And I think it's very important.
And how much of a stereotype or a pre kind of concept did you have before going, and what happened in that kind of realization, I guess, of what it actually was? I guess that what I mean is, whether we want it or not, we are influenced by the idea we have of what it is to be elsewhere, or the idea we have of what an English person is, or an American person, or a Canadian person, or right now a Korean person is. But then when you actually move there, and how long did you spend in the UK?
1 year,
It was
almost a
about a
year.
year.
Yeah.
Okay, after having been there for a year, I guess that maybe some ideas are reinforced, but then actually you do away with many of the preconceptions you have about other cultures. How does that play a role in the perception of people, the language, and so on?
I thought before going to the UK, I was sure that I was gonna love the place. Um, because first they spoke English, and I wanted to have this experience living abroad in an English speaking country. So first, that was my first idea about the UK as a whole. Then I didn't even thought like Oxford is gonna be different, because I thought it's 1 hour away from London, so like I will be in London all of the time. Like British people may be rough or rougher than Americans, but like they're okay. Like I had this broad, like not very tangible idea of what I thought they would be like. And I thought like they conquered all of the world. They're gonna have like good food. Like that was my main mistake when going there. Um but once I got there, I experienced different phases. Like when I got there, I was super happy. Like I was super happy I was getting into the university I wanted. Like I had such an international experience that was also like different from my other friends that got the same scholarship. Like I went to a place where we were 144 people, and we came from 53 different countries. So like I had not many like British classmates. Like they were like 5 or 6. So it was not like the common experience, and I did not have that much contact with British people at first. So I was super happy. I thought like, okay, like this town, because like Oxford is a city, but like it felt like a town to me. Like coming from Buenos Aires, like it was very, very small, and also very like quiet at night, and everything closed at 4 p.m. So like if you wanted to go to the pharmacy, I was used to having pharmacies 24/7, and that exist there. But after a while, like my feelings changed, and I thought like they're not doing fine in the UK, like post Brexit. So like they have so many of these strikes, like even like professors, even at Oxford, that it's like the bar that sets if something is very, very bad. Because like Oxford never strikes, like professors usually never strike, and they united forces with the other universities because they are paid really bad, and they still have a really good education, but like if this keeps going, it's gonna decrease its quality over time. There were train strikes, like there's this huge like living crisis. So I thought we had things in common, because these people went to the streets to ask for more and better rights. So like I thought they were a bit dull at first, but then I understood they weren't. Like you just have to push them a bit to the to the extreme to start moving. They're not like us, but they're
We're
better
being
than I
pushed all the
imagined.
time. We don't need to be pushed. It's like, just a blow,
Exactly.
and there we are.
exactly. And like at last, for me, it was like realizing that I don't want to live in the UK. Like at first I was like, wow, this country is super convenient. Like here there are the major headquarters of many like international NGOs, like many banks, many or international organizations like are here in London, not in Oxford, but like, so I should aim at staying here. And after a while, I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm gonna stay in this country because the food was really bad. I'm vegan. Like, I have to admit, they have a lot of vegan food, but that does not mean it tastes good. And also because, like, if I wanted to live in a place that's constantly deteriorating, I would like gladly go to my country because like I love Argentina and I would go back. Like there's no there's no reason for me to stay there other than the fact that I wanted to like have some money in pounds to send to my family back in Argentina. But if I could not do that and I had to rent an apartment with 9 other people and share the bathroom, like I would rather come back. So that it changed, and it living abroad also affected me like mentally and emotionally, and it was really a roller coaster. So I think people have to be aware that that can happen, not to everyone, but it can happen if you're very used to living in Argentina. Like you think you're ready, but you'll know if you're ready once you get there.
Right.
And that's the tricky part.
Right. But I mean, it's funny because in a way, after listening to what you say, anybody would think, okay, the logical thing is she came back. But no, you actually raised the bet and you moved to South Korea. So what is farthest from Argentina than South Korea? You know, it's like, so what happened that took you to South Korea? And of course, now, I mean, I guess everybody's curious. What are you doing there? And also, how do you communicate? I mean, you mentioned that you are learning Korean right now, but I mean, I guess that the way to connect is through English. So, how does that work? So, a lot of questions, but I mean, you
Yeah.
raised the bet. I guess
Um
that's the first one.
yeah. I went to the UK to do master's program that was not research focused because I did my first master's in Argentina, which was research focused. I owe the thesis yet, so not completed yet, that one, the Argentinian one.
Agos
But
Bergia.
this one was
Sorry,
very
this is it. Wait, I have to interrupt. Come on. Okay.
I
I
have
don't know
to
if
do
I'll
it. I
cut
have
this
to do
part.
it. Like once I finish something from work here, I will definitely do it. I wrote to my thesis director, like, I know this is shameful because we've been doing this for 2 years and I never
Really?
send you
That I thought
anything.
that that was history.
Yeah, I know. I have to do it just for the fact that I paid for it and I learned things. And I think my thesis is good enough to be presented. So yeah. But
Okay,
no,
another
and
story.
my program in Oxford was like a professional program. So instead of having a dissertation at the end, which most of the programs have, you have to do a summer project, which can mean an internship, can mean starting a job, but it has to be something professional. So I wanted to change. I must say that before like going to the UK, I was working in gender issues and like LGBTQ stuff, like human rights centered. I'm a lawyer. My undergrad was law, and I focused on human rights in general. And I was working on the Ministry of Women, Genders, and Diversity. So I was like working mainly on that. but I wanted to switch to something else because I thought those were great lenses to see reality, but you could see, like, you could read reality with those lenses in any other topic, and I didn't want to like integrate a niche like when I was so young. So, well, so young. Now I'm not so young, but
Yes, you
I
are.
had
Oh,
that
come
that
on.
impression.
That depends
um
on like who you compare yourself with, you know?
yeah, of course. It's always about comparison.
Yeah,
And attitude, I think.
totally.
Um
Yes.
and I wanted to do something like different, but at first I could not. Like I didn't find anything that was different, so I made my summer project like a research like as a research assistant in a project about gender-based violence, and specifically like political violence directed towards women. And we did that research and it came out very good. It was very interesting. I even enjoyed it. But still didn't want to work on that. So I felt that if I stayed working on related topics, like no one would hire me for a different one. So I chose to write to an alumni of my same program that had been there in 2015, I think, that was working at the Green Climate Fund that is based here in South Korea, which is the largest like climate fund. So they give money to developing countries to pay for projects that are climate related. So it can be for mitigation or adaptation or like whatever the topic. If it's a good project and it goes through the accreditation process, like they grant money, and they do it through grants, sometimes through loans. So a very complex process. I'm not in that, but like I wrote to him and he got back to me like 4 months later, and he said like, I'm gonna put you in contact with HR, because I asked him if there was an internship, anything. Like I think that if you wanna really switch jobs, like you have to be open to starting from the bottom,
Got it.
because it's not the same. Like I had a coordination position back in the ministry, and like I was aiming for an internship because it's not easy. So they put me in contact with one of the teams in GCF that were looking for an intern at that time. Um, GCF stands for Green Climate Fund. So they interviewed me and they told me, okay, yeah, it's okay for you to come for 6 months to a year to do your internship here in South Korea. So I was like, okay. And once they told me I was in, I had to do the visa process like 2 weeks, and I was off to fly to South Korea. So it was a very like I had no time to think about it. And I moved here with my partner, and I I think I got here on a Sunday, and on a Monday I started working.
Oh,
Fortunately, it's a paid internship, not a great pay, but it's a paid internship, so I can collaborate in the household
household.
maintaining budget. Um
And the
and
first
regarding
language?
communication,
Yeah.
I I thought like here everyone would like speak English. Not in my job, of course, everyone speaks
That,
English because
yeah.
like we work in English and like everyone. But I thought like I live in a business district, so it's like living in Puerto Madero,
Right.
like but full of like huge buildings with like banks, and like there are many foreigners here.
Uh-huh.
Not that many, but like many.
Right.
So um I thought like people are gonna speak English. Like that's what made sense at the time. But no, Nobody speaks English
No
here.
kidding.
Yeah, no one. So I had like, they're very gentle and they try to communicate with you, and like you can still do many of the day-to-day activities you have to do. Like if you go to the supermarket, like you just grab things you don't know what they are, and then you pay for them, and that's okay because everything is in Korean. And in the pharmacy, for example, like they can, if they have someone that speaks a little bit of English, they will help you, or they have an app in their phone that's called Papago, which is like a translator, a Google translator, but like Google apps don't work here. So you put the sentence you want to tell them, and then they convert it to Korean, and you can like play it. So you play the Korean version of what you want to tell.
Right.
But no one speaks English, and the ones who do, they don't. So it's
What
been
who do they don't?
a,
I love that phrase.
yeah, a very, I don't know, like different experience than the one from like the UK, where I felt that like I could talk to everyone, and here is like, wow, no one understands me. Like I know how to say hello, I know how to say thank you, and I know how to say yes. I still don't know how to say no, but
I'll get there.
I'll get there. Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't expect that. That is surprising, actually.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. But it's been a ride, and that's why I said, like, I always said in my discourse, then you never think you're gonna be the one applying it. But I always say, like, if people move to Argentina from abroad, at least learn Spanish. It's what is most respectful towards the country that's like taking you.
Right.
Like now that everyone can work remotely, like do put the effort. And now that I'm in the same position, I was like, I have to live by my standards. So I started, like, I bought a book about the alphabet, because you have to first learn the alphabet and then like go to an actual Korean course. So I'm learning the alphabet, like doing the little like things,
Yeah,
like
like the
drawings.
graph.
Yeah.
Calligraphy.
And trying to like remember what they sound like. It's like this one is like an S, this one is like a G, and like that. And then I'm gonna start like language course now, like I think in November, with an actual course. So I think that will help about the alphabet. And then in January I'm gonna start like a proper Korean course. But it takes time also, like moving abroad, like I had to take everything here. Yeah, so now English is my main language here. Like my partner speaks Spanish, so I speak Spanish with him. But like, if not, I read in English. Like I brought my Kindle and I read in English. With my coworkers, I speak in English because they are from different nationalities. So like it's the first time I'm working in English also. So that's a big challenge for me, because sometimes I see myself thinking in Spanish because it's the most like normal thing in the world. It's your mother tongue. And I have to like translate, because I say, oh, this sentence in Spanish is perfect. Like I just have to translate it. Like, and in fact, they've told me like, oh, you write super like well. And I was like, yeah, it's my mom who told me how to write, which is true, but it's the translator as well. Like I write well in Spanish, not in English, but like we live in this area of technology that helps me very much with that.
Totally. And we should use all the tools at our hands, to kind of shortcut processes and I don't know, I mean, the world is hard enough, you know, so we shouldn't make it harder by trying to, I don't know, like think a lot about certain things and just like, you know, use the shortcut and go on, I guess. Something like that, right? Right. I would like to thank you for this meeting. If you had a chance to give just one tip or a piece of advice to our viewers about the importance for you of having learned several languages, actually, not only English, but we're talking about English this time. What would you say?
I would say that like English changed my life in a good way because it opened many doors that would have remained closed to me if I didn't learn English. We know it's a very unfair world. Like I believe that people should also adapt to other languages, but the truth is that English is the international language by default, and most international jobs are done in English. So all those doors, not only like jobs, but also studying abroad, I would have less options if I didn't know English. And the thing is that now I also know I had so many experiences with people from other countries because we were both able to communicate in a common language that was English. So I think that it's nice to learn how to broaden like your life and your circle by knowing English and being able to communicate from people all around the world. And I think that's the magic of English specifically, different from other languages that do not have the same potential. And I would give a tip for learning English, which is reading, reading, reading. Like if you read in English, you will get the vocabulary. You don't have to learn it by heart. Like I did that with every language I started, and I think that's what makes the difference. Like just reading. And if you don't understand every word, it doesn't matter because you will understand it by context. But like once you learn and learn and learn by reading, your English will improve significantly.
Okay. Yes. Yes. One for the team. And I appreciate that because, you know, it's hard to make people read and they tell you that they want to read, but then, you know, things happen. So I'm glad you said that.
Invite me to your reading club, Chris. I
Okay.
want to be
Yes.
part of it.
Yes, I have to start that again. That could be a project for 2024, definitely. And of course, I will invite you to join. I need to find like cool, maybe short stories we could do, who knows. But anyway, I will think about it for 2024, definitely. And I mean, I hope that everybody knows that reading helps. So please read,
Yeah.
you know, go get a book. It doesn't matter what. It will increase your vocabulary. So definitely. Agos, thank you for I mean, it was a delight as usual, you know, and you know that I could go on and on and on and on talking to you because it's just so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. And always, like, just to remind you, you're invited to South Korea, you and your daughter. So, like, they can come, you can come whenever you want. If I'm still
Okay,
here,
yeah.
of course.
Yes, you know that things here are a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
tense at the moment, but who knows, you know, things could change. So, you know, let's be hopeful.
Argentina always
We
stands.
can only be hopeful, right? I mean, I guess
Yeah.
all we have, being hopeful. So thank you already. Yes, it would be a thrill to go there, but we shall see. You never know. So just in case, you know, be prepared. You know.
Yeah, and you're 2 hours away from Japan. I think Ollie will love
Yeah,
that.
I would love that. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for this. thank you for this. And well, I'll see you around sometime, it's like, okay. So let me
Yeah, we should book
this.
a
Yeah.
time slot to talk about our lives.
That's right. Okay. So thank you so much for this.